Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Thursday Therapy. We are back again for another exciting session, and we are so excited to be in front of you this evening. My name is Carlos Bing, and along with me is my lovely wife, Seneca Bing.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back. We are so excited that you are watching or listening or however you are here. We are happy to have you. So this is, what is this, October?
This is October.
All right, this is October. And we are just celebrating marriage, all things marriage. So if you were with us last month, you know that we spoke with two couples actually that we've had in our church. They're very active in the ministry, and they were married for many years and gave us a lot of nuggets about marriage and just general conversation. But tonight we wanted to get into some of the nitty gritty, right? We want to talk about effective communication in marriage because we know that communication is key. Communication is tough, though, in relationships, and especially when you are coming into a marriage, you definitely have to learn how to work together and to communicate effectively. So we want to talk a little bit about that. We have some great couples here with us, and so I'm super excited for you to meet them this evening. We will have Pastor and Wesley and Keybra Dunlap, and we will also have George and Lisa Levert, who will be joining us this evening.
Yes, and obviously before we get into full-fledged introductions and all that fun stuff, I like to share stories, and I thought I would share a story. But before I do that, before I share the story, I do want to level set because I think it's important for us to understand that even though Seneca and I are counselors, and Seneca is a school counselor, I'm a licensed professional counselor, and we see clients periodically and talk through different things. As we're talking tonight with the two couples that we have, they're going to share their perspective on how they handle things. And the way they handle things may not work in your house, but it's important to recognize that as they are dealing with things, they have found a solution to navigate through different things they're dealing with. And so for our couples that are out there, we want you to also figure out ways for you to navigate through things that you're going to be dealing with. But it may or may not be what the individuals we have on this call share with you tonight. So that's one thing I wanted to put out there. The other thing is I wanted to share a quick story. And we kind of had a moment before we got on this call where the couples were all together, and we were kind of talking about just being couples and how long we've been married and all those different things. And Seneca kind of warned that I was going to share a story, but that she didn't know what the story was. So she's going to be shocked by this one. But I never told her this. So we've been married 16 years. And I can remember when Dr. Wise married us at Faith Ministries Church. And I remember like we were standing in front of the church. And typically when you see couples, or at least whenever I watch on television, couples usually stare in each other's eyes and they're all googly eyed and staring at one another. That wasn't what we were doing in that moment. When we got married, from what I remember, I was staring at Dr. Wise and really listening to what he was saying, really listening intently to what he was saying, because I felt like he was giving me direction on what was coming up. That obviously I'm going to love this woman for the rest of my life, but that it's a responsibility, that I have a job to do. And it's a commitment between she and I and God. And so I was listening to her. And as I reflected on that this morning, I thought about how people think about marriage as this one day thing. And they're all in they have the googly eyes and they're staring at each other. And that's beautiful. But marriage is a lifetime commitment. And so I really wanted to make sure I heard everything he said so I understood what my responsibilities were. And that's why I was literally staring at him. If you watch the video, I may have peeked at Seneca a couple of times, but I was literally staring at Dr. Wise the entire time because I wanted to make sure I heard everything. And I think that a lot of couples that get married, they don't understand what they're getting into. And maybe they're not even listening in those moments. I would encourage those that have not gotten married to make sure you listen to those vows and abide by them. If you're having problems, maybe you review those vows because they're very important and they can make sure to center you as you go forth. So that's my story. I had never shared that with you before, but I wanted to share that with the folks tonight. So,
well, that was safe.
Yeah, that thank you. Yeah. So go ahead and tell them about the plan for tonight.
Okay. So tonight we have a video. We always, again, with these sessions, like to level set as Carlos said, but we like to make sure that we anchor the conversation with a video or some piece of information or some statistic or something that will help us to have the conversation. So we found a video that we thought is pretty short, so it won't be long, but it kind of gives some points that we want to hit and have some conversation about tonight. But before we get into the video, I could not let October pass. Even though this is a different topic, I can't let October pass without raising awareness and just bringing awareness to two very important things. Of course, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so I just wanted to pause and honor those who have been affected by breast cancer, who have family members affected. I had a really close friend who, went through breast cancer throughout, even during COVID. And so I want to really recognize her and just my aunt and others who have gone through it. The other group that I wanted to raise awareness, because we don't hear about this one much, but this one is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Supports Month also. And those of you who know us know that Carlos and I are parents of an angel baby, Aaliyah. And so we always like to also pause and think about other families like ours who have lost children in the pregnancy and infant loss stage and just period. But I did want to bring awareness to those two pieces before we moved into our conversation.
Thank you for highlighting both of those, babe. Appreciate that. And so I think at this time, we're probably ready for the video.
We are.
So we'll do the video and then we'll jump into the questions. So Mike, if you wouldn't mind playing the video, that would be awesome.
Hey guys, Jay Cadet here and welcome back to CO3 Studio TV. Lately I've been noticing a lot of couples are way too comfortable disrespecting each other. You'd think it's something most couples would do their best to avoid, but I've been noticing it happening all the time, not only in public, but among the couples I work with as well. Discomfort with being disrespectful to your partner is often a sign that you're taking each other's commitment for granted. And when that happens, politeness goes out the door, and you're more likely to be reckless with how you treat each other because you assume your partner will stick around anyway. It seems most people don't do it with the intent of hurting their partner. They're just self-centered and only concerned about their own feelings in the moment. Let me give you a few examples of what I see happening. 1. Making condescending remarks about your partner's thoughts or feelings. When your partner does or says something that doesn't make any sense to you, do you ask more questions to find out how they arrived at that conclusion? Or do you just let them know how dumb or misguided you think it is? When you always think you're right, every opinion your partner has as different from yours sounds ridiculous. To you, it has no ground because it's not supported by your personal experience. However, it's based on your partner's personal experience, which is just as valid and important as yours. Once you can learn to respect that, you'll find that your differences don't have to be points of contention, but opportunities to learn and understand a perspective other than your own. 2. Dismissive body language and tone of voice. What we communicate to each other isn't only composed of words. Our body language and tone of voice also contributes to the message you send to your partner. So when they're speaking and you respond with an eye roll, sucking your teeth, a condescending or sarcastic tone of voice, it communicates disrespect even if the words you're using don't. To them, it says they're incompetent or what they're saying doesn't have any merit. It leaves them feeling insulted and looked down upon. It's important to be intentionally conscious about how your body language and tone of voice play a role in the message you're sending your partner. It might take some practice, but the extra effort is worth protecting your relationship from the damage of disrespect. 3. Threatening to leave or give up on the relationship. Your partner needs to know they can count on you to get through troubling times when they come up. Each time you toss around the idea of leaving and don't, you chip away their trust in your commitment more and more. How can you expect them to be fully committed to you when you're showing them you'd rather leave than find a way to make it work when things get tough? The best way to handle not knowing how to fix whatever problem you're dealing with in your relationship is to just be honest with your partner about it. Let them know you feel discouraged or frustrated. Instead of using the situation as an opportunity to throw in the towel, use it as an opportunity to connect and work through the problem together. 4 is name calling. Names meant to hurt your partner have no place in your relationship at all, for any reason. Doing so is child's play and does nothing but make whatever problem you're dealing with already worse. Learn to direct your frustrations towards the problem you're dealing with and not towards each other. 5 is mocking or insulting your partner, especially in public. There's a big difference between joking and laughing together about something your partner did versus joking and laughing about what they did at their expense. Some people have a harsher sense of humor than others, and that's fine if your partner gets it. But once the joke becomes hurtful to them, it's no longer funny. Adding an LOL or actually laughing out loud doesn't remove the sting of harsh words, especially spoken by someone you love. At the end of the day, having respect in your relationship simply means that you treat each other with courtesy and place an equal importance on both of your thoughts and feelings. The fact is, your partner's opinions matter just as much as yours and deserve to be treated as such, no matter how off they may sound to you in the moment. Now, something that might be deemed disrespectful happening once in a blue moon isn't the end of the world. You can just talk about why it was wrong and discuss ways to make sure it doesn't happen again. However, if it's something that you actually get comfortable doing, especially on purpose, there are some deeper and more serious issues in your relationship that really need to be resolved, preferably with professional help. So guys, what are your thoughts? Do you find disrespect popping up in your relationship more than it should? How do you handle it? Leave a comment and let me know. Also, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, follow me on social media, and share it with your friends. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.
All right. So now we are ready to jump in with our panelists. And I think what we'll do is we'll have each of our couples, and I'll ask which couple, but we'll have you introduce yourselves, tell us how long you've been married, and then tell us your general thoughts about the video and the topic of respect and relationships. We'll start with the Dunlap family and then go to the Leverts.
I knew you were going to look at me, so good evening, everyone. My name is Keybra Dunlap. My husband, Wesley Dunlap. We have been married for 24 years, and we believe that, or I believe, I'll let my husband speak, that communication, respect and communication is essential to a friendship and a marriage, and just learning how to navigate that. See, I think that if you don't have that example in front of you, then it may be a little bit more challenging for you. So some people have that family structure where they see their father and their mother communicating in a respectful way, and or aunt or someone in their village. But there are some people that do not, and so how do they know that this is disrespectful? How do they know that joking may go a little too far and it may hurt their feelings other than afterwards? And so just modeling that behavior and really understanding how to be respectful in communication is really key to a successful relationship and friendship. And I keep saying friendship because I just think that friendship is a key component, should be a key component in marriage.
I appreciate the video, um, and however, um, the video is like most things in life. It's the perfect picture of what should be done, but is more often than not carried out. So it's very ideal. It's right, but with the video, the component that's not measured into the video is the sting of emotions. And more often than not, emotions overwhelm discipline in moments. And so the video has a very imperative part in the lives of married couples, but it has to, it's like Proverbs 31. There's this perfect woman displayed, but that was only an idea. She was not realistic. However, she does give you something to strive for. And so I just hope that I'll say this and I'll step back. But a lot of times growing up in church, we hear people give testimonies and say fantastic things. I guess I can only speak for me. And coming up, some of the things I heard people testify about and say made me feel like I wasn't really saved because I was not where they said they were in their testimonies. which just was not the case. It's just their journey and their experience was different than mine. So while I think the video is certainly a place to aim for, don't neglect where you are, because where you are is very, very, very important in your journey.
Yes. Thank you. Levert, would you
Can we
like
go?
to respond?
We are George and Lisa Levert. We have been married 35 years, and we were so excited. We were so excited when we were asked to be on this show, and so we were up during the middle of the night, a couple of nights, going over questions and trying to figure out some things and going through different things like that. But when you talk about respect, I'll just go first, and I'll let Lisa talk. You talk about respect. For me, it's no brainer. Respect should always be injected into the relationship. One of the things I noticed early on when I met Lisa is that you cannot, if the respect level seems to drop just a little bit, she'll let you know, and so in certain terms, and you will have to get it back up to where it needs to be. So over the years, over these 35 years, if I have sometimes maybe dropped the respect level in whatever way that was, she always was there to let me know it needs to come back up. But we've tried to always respect one another. It's important. I mean, I just can't see you having a relationship if there's no respect for each other. One person doesn't have respect for each other. So just plain and simple, that's where we've been. Okay.
Thank you. The my reaction when I saw the video and each point given is that it was very much indicative of the way things are now in our society. We've kind of moved away from a civil society, and this in your face, no respect towards the other person takes place, in our nation's capital, takes place in churches, takes place in schools. We see it, in the media. We see it every day, and it's slipped and it's moved into our school or into our marriages now. At this point, I would have never thought that we'd see things the way we see them now, where people are so incredibly disrespectful to their spouse, as the young man in the video said, in public, it's a way of life. It's grown legs, and we are no longer civil with one another in general.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you bring up a good point, because in the video, he mentioned a common type of disrespect in relationships is delivering condescending statements about your partner or their thoughts and their feelings. So, we just wanted you to share some thoughts about that. And it, doesn't have to be about you. We all know families or know people that we've worked with or seen situations that have seemed common when you are in public, and it may have stung with you a little bit, and the other person may have thought that it was okay. So can you share your thoughts about the common type of disrespect in relationships, the delivering condescending statements about your partner's thoughts or feelings? And I'll ask the Leverts to go first this time, and then the Dunlap.
The statements, the condescending statements just basically say, I'm feeling superior and you are inferior. I think that that's the gist of it. And they may be intentional. Often they may be unintentional. It just may be the way the relationship is, the way it, the dynamics of the relationship.
The disrespect level, and not showing respect, I think is one that can slowly erode the relationship. If you just constantly not constantly, but if if you constantly, if there's disrespect or words that are harsh or words that are not pleasant, over a period of time, that takes away, that erodes the relationship. It takes away from the person that is receiving those words, and it takes away from their wanting to be there, and they're feeling like you care, or that you care about it. So I just think that the word respect is such a grand word, such a big word, but it's such an important word in these relationships. If you don't respect the person that you're with, then you need not waste their time or yours and be in a relationship. Is the way I feel. It's got to be a respect going two ways.
And to piggyback on that, you and I talked about this specifically, condescending comments or thoughts, basically kind of um, say what you are thinking and what you do does not matter. What I'm thinking, what I do matters more than you. And both parties have to contribute to the relationship. If one person is the aggressor and the other person is kind of back, it just won't work. It can't work. It makes it difficult.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go.
Our next.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought you were something. When I read this question and I also looked at the video, I was thinking about how you joke with someone or your spouse. And sometimes the jabs, although you're joking, you're not intending to hurt them, but you can. I mean, hit me on a good day. I'm like, what? Yeah, what did you say, sir? Um, and just to be honest, some people's relationship is built around that, but you do have to be careful because words can sting, even if they're a joke. And even through this, and I'll touch on this later on some questions, I was thinking that a lot of lessons, almost 99.9% of the lessons I've learned has been trial and error. So if you are listening or watching and you're just in that place where you're like, oh my goodness, there is hope. So let me say that you can come back from that dark place. Honestly, I'm just and even if you never had that example, let me just put it out here. The Holy Spirit is the master teacher. Like he can teach you how to respect and love and honor and all those things. So I was just thinking like, well, Lord, I've learned everything about trial and error. Is that I don't know how good that is, but the joking, going back to the joking aspect, you just have to be careful because sometimes people can sit on those words at night. And my husband, he doesn't joke like that, but I know I can ponder on things, and at nighttime when it's quiet, I kind of go over my day, and sometimes you can sit on those things. Sometimes things can sting, and people may not intentionally mean to hurt you, so you really have to be careful with that as well.
I would say that Keybra made reference to jokes, and many times jokes are a mask that have a very real face behind them. Um, I struggle with the unintentionality of words. I tend to put more weight on the fact that if you said it, you meant to say it.
Or at least
No
you was
matter,
or at least you was feeling it.
no matter how you package it. And there are three components in biblical study. There are three components of communication. There's illocution, locution, and it's not just biblical study, but illocution, locution, and perlocution. Illocution is the essence of the words that are spoken. Locution. Locution is the essence of the word. Illocution, I'm sorry, is the essence of the words that are spoken. Locution is the intention of the words that are spoken. And perlocution is how the message is received. And a lot of times, illocution, what I said, and locution don't always match. And more often than not, the combination of those two and perlocution, how the hearer receives them, are more many times very different. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with me. There is what they call noise in communication. So she may have had a crappy day at work, and if I engage in conversation that might be of a serious nature to me, she has this noise going on from what she went through at work. And that noise can cause her to react to what I'm saying with no connection to what I'm saying. But her reaction is born out of what's really cooking inside of her. And so, in terms of the discussion being about condescending words and words that attack, I kind of, and I'm not saying it's the rule, but I kind of put a lot of weight in the fact that if you said it, it was intended to be said. And the fact that I address the fact you said it is usually where that's not what I meant, or, you know, or those kind of words that try to soften it. But if you said it, then we need to address the fact that you said it, and you said it for a reason. Because if you don't, then everywhere we go, I'm still going to be stuck on what you said. And so all of my responses now are going to be fed by what you said back then.
Right.
And now anything you say to me is going to be adversarial.
So you made me pick up my pen and start writing some things down because that was yes, we could drop the mic right there and go home. But thank you for that, because when I took from that is essence, intention, and receipt, the way that people receive the message. And there's just so many layers to peel back when you say some things, and there's so many, like you said, a lot of unintentional things could come from your words, even if you're joking. You think you're joking, and people, again, because of what's going on with them, they are taking your words. And oftentimes I see people don't communicate that this hurt me until it blows up. And so we don't take care of it initially. You kind of let it slide and let it slide. And then all of a sudden you blow up in the other person. It's like, well, what happened? I've been doing this all this time and you didn't say anything. So I appreciate you just bringing those 3 points up in the way and illustrating the way that they all work together. This wasn't even my part, but okay.
No, because I was going to share a little bit about that myself, because the points you mentioned there, Pastor Dunlap, in terms of the perlocution, when we say things, if I say something and I don't think it's negative towards my wife, if she takes it negatively and she brings it to me, then we have to deal with how she felt about that. And that's important. Even if my intention wasn't to hurt her, if she felt hurt by it, we got to deal with that thing. Because to your point, it could be that noise that maybe from her past, or even something that happened presently, could be affecting how she received that information. And so it's important to be able to talk openly and communicate feelings. So I really appreciate all the points that were shared, but particularly that one. And before we continue, I do want to say to folks that are online, please make sure if you have questions, put them in the chat. We have our own set of questions here, but at some point we may even be able to open it up and allow you to put in some questions. So please feel free to jump in with your question. But the video also addressed something that Seneca and I can't remember ever a time that we've talked about this, but I know of couples that have, because as a therapist, I've heard this and I'm like, why are y'all even talking about this? But the video mentioned how a partner can lose trust because the idea of leaving, like physically leaving the home, comes up. And I want to get your thoughts on your thoughts and feelings about those statements of "I'm going to leave because I'm upset about something." Just your thoughts and how that can harm a relationship. And we'll start with the Dunlaps.
Go ahead.
Those words are powerful, powerful words. The challenge with that is those words, and I want to make sure I say this right. Those words can sometimes empower the receiver of those words to address the fact. If I can say it this way, you empower the receiver to ask, so now you're physically going to leave. Because typically leaving starts here before it starts here. And, you know, so if those words come out, many times it has a finality to it. Also, when those words come out, again, perlocution. When those words come out, I hear you say you're gone, and I say, and I hope you all will respond to this. I always say the root of every marital problem is pride. The root. I don't care if it's infidelity, if it's money, if it's communication. Pride is at the core of it. So my point is, when I hear you say you're gone, then pride's going to make me respond, well, what do you want me to do? Beg you to stay? Even though my heart is begging for you to stay, that statement is going to bring this pride out of me that is going to make me respond out of what you said versus what I feel. And even if we work through and become lovey-dovey, you have taken the game Jenga. You have taken a block out of the tower. And just because you done got over it doesn't mean I have.
Right.
Yes. Right. Yes. Wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When thinking of this question, the screen changed, so I didn't know if it was still me. But when I was thinking of this, when I was reading this question, I told my husband, it was a friend that was talking to me about, of course, the marriage issues and just listening as they teach us to do in school. You know, you just listen as they go through it. But when she came into my office, she said, another reason why my marriage is not going to work. And I told my husband, I said, immediately, I should have stopped her because just saying words can start you on a totally different path mentally and then physically. Now, they're working through some things, thank God, and they're on a good path. But as a friend, I should never allow her to say that in my presence because I know how that can start you on a totally different path, which could end in a toxic way. So even just saying, I'm going to leave, it's just not healthy at all. Because even if that's a thought in your mind, it may materialize, it may come to fruition later.
I mean, other than we had a little bit of a difficult time with the question or the inquiry and in its application to trust. We were thinking leaving and trust, but George elaborate. You can elaborate on it. You were
One of the things I think about when you talk about leaving, it made me think about if you're talking about leaving at any point, you put that on the table that you can leave, then I feel like I don't have anybody that I can't go into battle with you. When those tough times come or when something goes down, you may say, I'm leaving. That's kind of a deterrent to me as to whether or not I can trust you when we go through these situations. Whether it can be money, it can be family, it can be children, what have you. If I can't, if I if it gets too intense and you say you're going to leave, or I think you possibly could skip out on me because it got too tough, then I'm not feeling good about the relationship. I'm not feeling good
over
about
a period of time.
Over a
Over a period of time, you're
over a period of time. It just got again. It's like the respect thing. It kind of wears away. It kind of wears away at the relationship and how you feel.
well. I know very very early in our 35 years, very early, I had those moments when, and I'll just share this. I just had those moments when not real sure that we're going to that we're going to go real far. And I'm sure that I said probably 3-4 times in the first couple of years that we were married, I just don't think that I can do this. I'm ready to go. And George sat me down and he said, the term that he used was, are we going to stick and stay or what? We can't be a little loosey-goosey about this. Are you going to be committed? Are we going to be committed to one another? Or are we going to run every time there is a trouble, or there's an issue that you think you can't solve, or that we can't solve? We hadn't even gotten to the spiritual part of bringing God in. Do you know what I mean? Seriously bringing him into the relationship. But he used to, you sat me down and he said, it's either going to be a stick and stay, or we're going to have to call it quits. But you can't say every 6 months or every 8 months or once a year, whatever it is, oh, this is not going well right now, I'm out the door. Can't do it.
And let me say this, I think too, since that time, 35 years, we've had a lot of experiences, a lot of good times, some bad times. But I think as we've grown and we've allowed Christ to come in and direct our marriage, and I got so much more to talk about on that if we have time. But as we've done that, it's leveled out. It's leveled out, and we understand now that we cannot. The term of it's too tough. I'm leaving. Well, I'm upset. I'm leaving. That just doesn't work. Yeah. So you both have to want to stay, and be willing to deal with situations.
Can I say one more thing if you don't mind, family?
Uh-oh. Did you want to say something?
If you don't mind, I just want to say one more thing.
Sure.
Please.
The more I was listening to everybody, Genesis 1 gives us a snapshot of everything that was created. And in looking at that snapshot, God has no splinters, no blisters on his hands, because everything that was created by the word of God. And we were created in his image, in his likeness. So our words are seeds. So, I can put an apple seed in the ground and intend for and want it to produce oranges, but it's going to produce apples, regardless of what my intention or my desire is. So when I say I'm leaving, maybe my intent is to make you say, no, come on, let's fight for this or whatever have you. But my intent does not change the fruit of the seed. The seed is still going to produce the fruit that's in the seed. And there's no other way to look at those words other than it is going to produce fruit of destruction, period. So I can't expect that the fact that in my heart I want you to then become passionate and fight for our marriage, because maybe my issue is I need validation and I don't feel like you validate me enough. So maybe I throw those words to try to pull out of you that you need me, you want to be with me. My intent does not change the nature of the seed. or the fruit of the seed at all.
Y'all are, again, this pen has been going over here. I don't know if you can see me writing, but no, you're just thinking, you have me thinking about a lot, and we're trying to moderate and not talk as much, but you're bringing out so many great points because when you were talking about, pride is a huge issue in relationships, and that is a huge point. And it all goes back to mindset, right? My mindset has to be right. I have to be able to think before I say some things, because those words you can't pull back. And then trust and stick and stay. Okay, I like that.
Put that one on there. Stick and stay.
Stick and stay. But truly, really thinking about, if we are going to be in this, if we have taken these vows before God, before our family, before, to each other, we have got to think about how we treat each other, what we say. It's not always going to be pretty, right? There have been times he set me down and I don't want to hear it. Okay. But I understand that what he is saying is true and I need to listen. Right. And sometimes we got to turn the mirror. We got to look in the mirror ourselves, because we are not perfect. I'm not perfect. And, we've definitely had situations even in our time where we've had to really have conversation with each other. So I appreciate you all answering that question. And just the words are seeds, and they are. And you said that. And when it's like toothpaste, we say you squeeze that out. You can't put that toothpaste back in the the tube. And so we have got to be careful about how we treat one another and what we say. So speaking of what we're saying, the next question is about name calling. The guy talked about name calling, mocking, or insulting your partner seem like childish behaviors, right? But while none of us are perfect, why do you believe that this behavior can be harmful, right? Why is that harmful? And we've talked about it some, but we definitely need to just put this out there for everybody, because some people do the name calling and mocking and insulting their partners. We know. We know. So why is that harmful? And I will start with, who do we start with?
Levert.
Okay, the Leverts. I'm sorry. Please.
We've kind of hit it here that, first of all, what is it? Proverbs 18, power in the tongue. Is that correct, Pastor Wesley? Is that correct? Proverbs 18:21. I looked it up over here. States that the tongue has power of life or death. Once you say it, once you put it out there, it's out there. You can't take the words back. Once you say it, it's out there. It's either going to be damaging, or it's going to, rejuvenate or create a life or make a life. You cannot take it back. So mocking or insulting, it's almost a no-brainer.
I can't really get into calling of names. I can't get into mocking Lisa. I can't get into that. But I know there are people who do that in relationships. And so I would say to you, first of all, you need to stop immediately, because you are destroying any kind of hope going anywhere.
Right.
And like we talked about earlier, it's not about necessarily 35 years or 24 years. It can be 2 years. It can be a year. But if you start putting all this stuff about calling names and mocking the individual or bringing up stuff that's going to hurt, like you can just pretty much forget it. There's no reason to come see Carlos and Seneca about anything, because you can just pretty much forget it. You've got to be able to act like, I guess, like the old folks would say, act like you got some sense, and you cannot do that. You just can't talk to your spouse in any kind of way like that. And
we were discussing, is it not that it makes a difference, but because we all are we're not perfect. Is it a habitual problem? Is it this sort of thing that you regularly mock or insult your spouse? Or does it come out of a situation? It, did something happen? Was this a once in a blue moon thing? Um, I think it's a little easier to get past if you understand the context of where those words came from. Not really sure that I can even understand if it's a habitual thing, if this is something that this is just your go-to in a fight.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? To mock or to say something insulting.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to add
I
anything?
I will say this, and this might be being family. This might be a little aggressive, but it's abuse. That's abuse. There's no tender way to put that. It's abusive. And you got to look at the fact I am who I was before I married you. Now, we're going to talk real grown talk here. So, if you're going to, as the kids say, if you're going to come for me, I'm going to show up. That's who I was before I married you. And I, I know I might be way outside, but marriage teaches us how to pretend. We pretend a whole lot in marriage, which is unsafe, is unhealthy. Um, but when you come for me like that, and it's abusive, but more often than not, we do it and don't many times realize we're doing it. I'll give you a case in point. If I say something to you and your response is you act like, well, you're no longer talking about the central issue. Now you're talking about me. And that is the top of the sliding board that slides down to you just straight out dogging me. Uh, so are we talking about I act like, which is an attack on my character, no longer the issue of the conversation? Or are we talking about the issue of the conversation? And we've said it before, once those words come out, you've lost control of the situation. You cannot dictate how the response is going to play out. And I like the order of these questions because this question actually leads into the previous question. So when you make those abusive statements, why would you be surprised if I arrive at a place of saying I'm leaving? Because nobody wants to be abused. And David said it this way: it wasn't my enemies that did me this way. It was the ones I prayed with and took counsel with. And there's this expectation that because you are closer to me than them, then you should be as sensitive to me as you are to yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's what marriage is. Marriage is other people minded. Our paradigm for marriage is God's relationship with the church. He had no reason to die. He didn't want to die, as proven by the Garden of Gethsemane. However, even though he didn't have to, even though he didn't want to, he knew that somebody was going to die. Either it was going to be him or it was going to be us. So he took the bullet for us. And you have to take that metaphorically into your relationship. So, and I'm done, but the world has made us so fast paced. You go through a drive through, you don't have to go inside. In Detroit, they have drive through funeral homes where they prop the body up. You can drive by and look at the body because everything is moving so fast. But relationships take time. Communication takes time. The faster we try to make it happen, the messier it's going to be. So we used to tell people, how desperate are you for your marriage? If you know that it's going to get messy, then let's do this. Let's get a pad and a pen and sit across the table from each other. And I write to you what I want to say, because I'm not going to spend as much time with that pen as I would with my mouth. So I write to you what I want to say to you and then pass the pad to you. And the rules are nothing out of our mouths. I can't communicate emotions with a pen, but that all depends on how important your marriage is to you, how important this relationship is to you, which will unveil pride. If I gotta still go at you and get my point out, then really it ain't even about you. It's all about me. And I'm in love with me, and I'm showing me that you are actually the other woman, because I'm really kicking it with me.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Can you tell my husband's a preacher? He'll preach if you let him. I want to say one thing, and we have done the pen and pad thing. So I don't know where we adopted that from. It may have been counseling we were in. But we do that. We write things down. But I also want to say early on in our marriage, we surrounded ourselves with married couples who we wanted to be like. And the joke I say is, I got married at 22. I didn't really know how to write my name in cursive that well. Like I didn't know, and then you have children and the children keep coming and all these different dynamics. And so I didn't know. One lady, we would go to have dinner and she would make her husband's plate. That was foreign to me. And so, because I am an observer, I then would grab different things. You would take the meat, you would leave the bone, some things. And so there would be two main couples. We would be like, you want to come over? We would just try to adopt from what they were doing. I don't even think we told them.
And we knew as long as we were around them, we wasn't going to fuss and fight.
Right, because it was rough at first many years of our marriage. And so even in our marriage retreats and things like that, we're really open and transparent. It was really rough. There was not name calling or anything like that, but a lot of things was just trial and error. A lot of things was really calling on the name of the Lord. Like, I do not know how to do this. I have never seen this in action. I've never done this routinely. I don't know. I need you to help me because I want this to work. And so we just intentionally called these two couples over. I don't even think they knew. We were intentionally we just wanted them around because I wanted them around. I know, because I didn't really understand the concept. And at 22 years old, a lot of things was foreign to me. So just if you don't know, get around people you trust and you can glean from, and that can help you, because it will add a lot to your marriage.
Marriage has got to be important. Is this a grown audience? I'm asking that question because, again, how far will you go to save your marriage? Now, this is going to sound real radical and extreme, but I used to say to couples at the church we pastored in Grand Rapids, if it goes too far and you're the person that really, I hate where we are, I mean what I said, but I see we're going too far, then take your clothes off. You can't fight me when I'm standing there naked. And that I'm saying that from this perspective. I know that sounds crazy, but my point is, what's important to me, I will do whatever I need to do to protect. But when it comes to marriage, we limit how far we'll go to fix that. But anything else, my car, I'll spend thousands of dollars to get my car fixed. I'll go from doctor to doctor to get my body fixed. But my marriage, I got this much space, this much time to deal with this. And so you just have to be willing to go as far as you need to go, within practicality, of course, but to Stop this, because this is destruction. I can't hear him.
I did. I've been over here typing, and I know. So, Pastor Dunlap, you did mention that, you said you wanted to be careful when you said abuse. And I think you were spot on. I mean, I think whenever we think of abuse, we think of it as the physical and not so much that emotional or verbal, but those are definitely high level forms of abuse that are rarely talked about, but they can really damage an individual and certainly can damage and impact a couple. And so when those words come out that are negative, they have long lasting impact. And as Seneca said earlier, or somebody mentioned earlier, once that toothpaste comes out, it's impossible to put it back in the tube. So now we're stuck with dealing with whatever you done said, and it leaves a stain. You know how sometimes the sink has that stain with the toothpaste and it's hard to get out. Those stains stay there for they can stay for a long time. You can put as much comment on it as you want, but that stain will stay there if once it comes out. So I definitely wanted to put that out there. I wish we had more time because I want to ask some more of these questions, but I think what we'll do is we'll ask the last one, because we want to get a couple of tips from you all before we close out. And so, can you just think of some really quick tips that are beneficial to couples that maybe we didn't touch on tonight that you would like to share with the folks that are listening tonight? And we will start with the Dunlaps and then go to the Leverts.
I'll say my wife and I, in our rough days, we had this practice when we would go to bed. We would sit in a way where we kind of straddled one another and held hands. And I would ask her, tell me your high points today. What were your lows today? And what do you need to say to me?
It's from The Story of Us with Michelle Pfeiffer. Do you remember that old movie? That's where I got that from.
And then give her the opportunity at the same time. What were your highs today? What were your lows today? And what do you need to say to me? And that space is a safe space. When you really love somebody, that's the big word. When you really love somebody, they can say some things that cut, but when you love them, you know that in that heart of them, they don't mean to do you harm. And that's how you learn how to balance some of those cutting words. But if those cutting words make me look at you like a villain, then really what I need to do is question myself. Do I really see you as my love partner? Or do I see you as a monster that's sleeping in my bed? And you're right, we did not touch on it. But listen, I don't care what they're doing in Hollywood or wherever. If God is not the builder of your house, it is a beautiful house with no furniture. It's what we do on Zoom. It's what we do in this new digital world. We put on a nice top, but down at the bottom where nobody can see, we got on sweats. That's what our marriages become. We look good out there, but in there, it's all a facade. So even though we didn't get to this point, God has got to become the institution of this institution.
Yes. Yes.
Well said.
And
Well
so,
said.
I didn't know my time. So I will say, 1 Corinthians 13, I know it's in one of our questions down there. Love keeps no account of wrongdoing. Love is not boastful. It's not envious. It covers all. And I remember learning that verse in the Message Bible in Grand Rapids when my husband pastored. I just remember falling in love with that verse and the whole keeps no account of wrongdoing. So that's the forgiveness part. And I hear often with older couples, they say it's easy. One of the secrets to our success is I forgive every single day, every single hour of the day. Because again, unless it's abuse, let me classify that, I know he's not attempting to hurt me. I'm not boastful. It's not prideful. It doesn't keep account of wrongdoing. That's what one of the words, one of the phrases are in the Message Bible. And I try to live by that, not just with my husband. I try to live by that with people, but definitely with him. He should be the first partaker of anything I do. He should be the first one. So 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Did the Leverts want to add anything?
Yeah, one quick thing.
Two quick ones.
My wife has always told me, I got your back. Early on, she said, I have your back. And over the years, over these 35 years, she's proven to me she has my back. She's always been there. So always, I say that to say, always have your partner's back. Always have your partner's best interest in heart. Always make sure you're protecting them as best you can. Always love them. Always keep them in high esteem. Because if you got one another's back, the marriage is gonna be okay. And if you got God in your marriage, it's gonna be supreme. There's gonna be some bad times. There's gonna be some good times. So we've had a good ride here. We're gonna ride further.
Short and sweet. Real quick. God extends mercy and grace to us every single day and throughout the day, over and over. There's nothing wrong with extending that. There's nothing wrong with extending that to your spouse. A little bit of mercy and grace, I think, it just makes it a sweeter place for everybody. We don't have to go to bed and take everything that happened, every bad thing that happened between us, into the night. We're not supposed to. We're not supposed to rest like that. But at the end of the day, you just kind of release it and move on. Extend a little grace, give a little grace, and it all works out well, a little better.
Wow. We would just like to thank you all for being with us tonight and for all of the just wonderful gems that you gave us. We really, really appreciate it. And we thank those who are watching. We thank Dr. and Dr. Wise for just making mental health a priority. And we thank Mike McGee for all he's doing behind the scenes. Next month, we'll be back and we will be talking to a few more couples to continue our celebration of Black marriage and just marriage in general. So thank you, and we say good night.
We say good night. Thank you. We'll see you again in November. Blended families. Thank you, Levert family. Thank you, Dunlap family. Y'all did wonderful.
Yes.
We'll see you all who joined us. We'll see you again in November.
All right.